Ready for a story break? I have for you today an American folk tale. It was collected by an American folklorist, Richard Chase. And even though that just happened to be his name, he would literally chase the stories through the mountains, listening and writing them down and collecting them in books, such as The Grandfather Tales, where I got this story. This story is Sodysallyratus. Yes, that's the story, and I dedicate it to all the teachers and the children and the families who I've told it to in the past, and to all of you who are hearing it for the first time. And just like that title, there are going to be some old-timey words in this story. I'm not going to tell you what they mean. Let's see if you can guess by their context within the tale. This type of folktale, parents and teachers, is called a repetitive, cumulative, predictable tale. And not only are they important just to hear them and know about our American folklore, but these predictable stories help children anticipate what might happen and want to retell them. And by retelling them, they can more readily become readers. And so, young readers, settle in. Let's go deep, deep in the woods. Don't be too scared, but this story does get a little intense. Once upon a time, deep in the woods, there lived a family in a cabin. Now, in this cabin, there was just the lower room and the upper loft, and the family lived up there together. There was Granny, and she was just a little crotchety. There was an old man, and he was slow. He walked with a stick. There was a little girl and a little boy, and they had a pet in the cabin. The pet lived up on the mantelpiece above the fireplace, and he would skitter-scatter back and forth and flip his tail. And their pet, you might have guessed, was a squirrel. And the squirrel observed everything the family did and was a beloved member of the family. And on this morning, like every morning, the squirrel was up first, flicking his tail, waiting on breakfast because Granny made the best biscuits. Don't they all? Well, Granny finally thumped down the stairs into the main room, and she started grousing around the kitchen looking for all the parts to make biscuits, and she was out of Sodysallyratus. So she yelled upstairs, "Boy, come down!" And the little boy ran down. "Yes, Grandma?" And she said, "Now I need you to go to the store, and I need you to buy me a little poke of Sodysallyratus. Now I know you're forgetful, so you sing a little song and bring it back." "Yes, ma'am," said the little boy. And off he ran down the road, thinking up a little song, and he made it simple. Sodysallyratus, Sodysallyratus. He thought it was pretty good, and it did help. As he ran over the bridge and down the rest of the dusty road all the way to the general store singing his song, when he got there at the general store and the man asked him what he wanted, he could remember. "I need some Sodysallyratus. Granny's making biscuits." "Oh," said the storekeeper, "her biscuits are good. Here, I'll give you just a little poke. I'll just put a little bit in this poke, and I'll wrap that poke up, and now you hold that in your hand. Now, be careful getting home with it all." "Thank you, sir." And off he went, running down the road, saying, "Sodysallyratus." He didn't need the song anymore, but he liked it. He was going to keep it. But this time, when he ran across that bridge halfway to his home, there had been a sleeping bear that had stopped for the night under that bridge. And this time, the sound of those running feet woke up that bear. And the bear crawled out quickly on the far side of the bridge so that he blocked the little boy's way. And the little boy looked up as the bear stood up on his hind quarters and towered above him. And the bear growled, "I'm going to eat you up, you and your Sodysallyratus." And he reached out and he grabbed the little boy around the waist and he took him and he swallowed him down in one big whoop. Didn't even chew. Whoop. The bear crawled back down under the bridge and went back to sleep. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Granny was fit to be tied. "Merciful heavens, you want to do something right, you got to do it yourself. Little girl!" And so the little girl came running. "Yes, Granny, yes." "That little boy, he's run off to the store and forgot what he wanted, probably dawdling by the side of the road. You go check on him." "Yes, Granny." And so off she went, skipping, She was really good at skipping. She skipped all the way there across that bridge to the store, and she said politely, "Excuse me, sir, has my little brother been here? He was after a little poke of Sodysallyratus." "Why, yes," said the storekeeper. "He's done been here and gone." "Where could he be?" "Well, keep an eye out." "Thank you, sir." And off she went, skipping down the road, until she came to that bridge, where the sound of her little skips woke up that bear underneath the bridge. And he crawled out, and he blocked her way, and he got up tall, and he towered above her, and he said, "I done ate a little boy, him and his Sodysallyratus, and a little girl, I'm gonna eat you too." And he reached out and scooped her up and swallowed her down in one big noisy and crawled back under the bridge. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Granny was pacing back and forth, and she yelled to the old man, "Old man, your children are wasting their time, and we need breakfast. Get on down the road and see what's keeping them." "Yes, Granny." And off he walked with his stick, tap, 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 across the bridge, over to the store. He said, "Hey, Henry." "Hey, George." "Henry, have you seen my children? They came here after some Sodysallyratus." "Oh," said the storekeeper. "Well, they done been here and gone. You don't suppose they both stopped by the side of the road to play, do you?" "Probably," said the old man. "Thank you kindly." And off he went, tap, 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 till he got to the bridge, where the sound of that walking stick woke up the bear underneath. And the bear crawled out, and even with the old man, when he stood on his hind quarters, he towered above the old man. And the old man looked in fear as the bear said, "Old man, I done ate a little boy, him and his Sodysallyratus. I ate a little girl, and old man, I'm gonna eat you too." And he reached out and grabbed the old man and swallowed him down in one big noisy gulp. No chewing. And then he crawled back under the bridge and went to sleep. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Granny was fit to be tied. "Merciful heavens, where is that family? I'm getting hungry. I've got to go and find out." And so she hurried, stomp, 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 down the road, stomp, 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 over the bridge, stomping all the way into the store. She didn't say please or thank you, no time for niceties. "You seen that family of mine?" The storekeeper said, "Yes, Granny, they all been here and are gone." "Oh, I haven't seen them. Where could they be?" "Maybe they're all playing by the side of the road." "Probably. We'll see about that." And off she marched out of the store, back down toward the cabin. And when she got over that bridge, her stomping woke up that bear. And that bear came crawling out, and he towered over that Granny. And he got his braveness on, and he said, "Old woman, I ate a little boy, him and his Sodysallyratus. I ate a little girl, and I ate an old man. And old woman, I'm going to eat you too." And he did. He reached out, and he grabbed her by the waist, and he hauled her down and swallowed her in one big gulp. A little bit sour. And then he crawled back down underneath the bridge and went to sleep. And there they were, the whole family, inside his belly, and no one to help, no one to come to their aid. But was there someone else in the family? You remembering now? A pet. The squirrel. The squirrel had seen them all go and not come back. He skittered, he was hungry. He flipped his tail, jumped from the mantel down to the table, from the table to the chair to the floor, and out the door, skitter, 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 on his little bitty claws and paws. And when he got to the store, he chittered and chattered, and the storekeeper seemed to understand him. And the storekeeper said, "Well, no, they all been here and gone. Can't imagine where they be." The squirrel flicked his tail, and off he went. And when he got to that bridge, this time the sound of his skittery little paws woke up that bear. And the bear came crawling out from underneath that bridge, and he towered for miles above that squirrel. And he said, do you know what he said? He said, I ate a little boy, him and his Sodysallyratus. I done ate a little girl. I ate an old man, and I ate an old woman too. And little squirrel, I'm going to eat you. And he reached out with his huge paws and claws, and that squirrel skittered right between some of the claws and got away. And he watched as that squirrel jumped up a tree nearby. So that bear, with his belly full, came out. And he watched that squirrel go all the way up that tree. And he looked up and he said, well, I reckon if you can make it with your little legs, I can make it with my big uns. And he climbed up that tree after that squirrel. But the squirrel just moved from another branch to another and another until the bear had him out on the end of one branch. And there was that squirrel at the end. And again the bear said, if you can make it with your little ones, I reckon I can make it with my big uns. And he started climbing across that branch at that squirrel. And when he got out just far enough, the weight of him with that whole family inside broke that branch, and it broke with a loud crack, and down fell that bear through the limbs, crack, 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 till he landed on the ground with a thump, and he split open wide. The squirrel came down and stood at the side of the bear. The bear was dead, but the squirrel jittered and chattered, and out came the little girl. She helped out the little boy. He still had his poke of Sodysallyratus, dry as could be. And then they helped out the old man. Where's my stick? They got him his cane. And they helped out Granny, who was still complaining and grumbling. And all of them, clean as a whistle, made their way back to the cabin, leaving the dead bear behind them. And when they got to the cabin with that Sodysallyratus, Granny was able to mix up the best batch of biscuits, and they rose so tall and so high because of it. Now, they each ate 3 biscuits, and they were big biscuits. But I got to tell you, that pet squirrel of theirs that day, he ate 5 biscuits. And I think he deserved them. Don't you? And that's the story of Sodysallyratus. Did you figure out what that old-timey word means? A little bit of baking soda? Is that what you guessed? And it was in a poke. What's a poke? A little paper bag. That's right. So when you're on an errand, you got something to do. Well, make a little song. Help you remember it. And watch out for what's underneath the bridge. Thanks, friends. See you next time.